Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whoever you are and wherever you are. Today is the last day of November of 2025. We have just less than 31 days before the new year. And yeah, pretty much it's been a very, very fine month, I would say, for November. Well, being end of the year is catching up, so work's been very critical for me at work. So my entire time has been mostly on my work and also my house and family responsibilities are quite getting more serious at the point of time, but more mainly on my work situation. So yeah, what should I update today? So on the side note, I would say yesterday there was a state election in Malaysia for the state of Sabah. A bit disappointed because although I already got a favoritism because my favorite party that is more logical in the sense of their struggle. We're not talking about personality of a politicians and so forth, but the structure and the agenda of a party, discipline, and its moving to what is the ultimate vision for the country to be. That party kind of lost all its seats. Now I kind of understand. I'm not totally disappointed in that election. My point of view. Again, this is just only my point of view. On personal level, as a Malaysian, not as a person who lives in the state of Sabah. Probably they have their own agendas and own opinion, which is more correctly because they are the one who voted, not me. I didn't went and go to their state and vote because I don't reside in Sabah. Some might say it's hopeless to vote in Sabah because corruption is quite rife, and whoever wins the election, most of the winners that would win are mostly family oriented rule. The chief minister or the head of the state government, you might say premier or whatever it is, and other establishment of a company, some of the positions of the ministry of the states are all family blood related people. So you can say it's a family and corporate business to run the entire state affairs. Of course, we call it nepotism. There's a term for that. We call it nepotism. But regardless, democracy must take its course. If the citizens choose to have nepotism, so be it. Because nepotism is a form of government. It has its pros, it has its cons. Its pros, probably, it would say efficiency runs much better, less red tape and so forth, because everything is coordinated much more swiftly, which is run by family affair, state affair. So yeah, my party that as my favorite party, which is the most logical to pursue my country Malaysia to be truly a first world country, a country that can compete against Japan, can compete against Singapore, and the rising Indonesia and Vietnam, including Thailand. We are able to compete if we move across the same agenda as what the party that I'm much more in favor. And perhaps we have more strategic position with or against mainland China. Um, at this point in time, the hegemony of China on Malaysia is quite significant. We rely on mainland China a lot of things, and if you notice, if you oversupply your production and reliance financially, economically with Beijing or China, as most people call it right now, Beijing China would actually use the tool to suffocate the country. Again, it's my own personal viewpoint, which recently Japan has been affected by it, just by from the Prime Minister's opinion, saying that we should defend Taiwan if China invades Taiwan. Then Japan would retaliate by defending Taiwan. Now, those words to me is really logic, because no nation in the goddamn world wants a war-stricken situation. We already had that in the Middle East. We already have a tyrant from Israel's attacking the Palestinians. And defenseless as they are, the Palestinians, they are being, how do I say, quietly erased. Is something similar happened to the Jewish communities during the 1930s, if I have my recollection. I think it's the night of the crystal night. Yeah, so the Palestinians are currently having this same experience, but the Jews had in Germany. Then the Germans kind of confiscate and destroy everything that's establishment by the Jewish communities. This is the same thing, same process. Why not use what has been effectively done in the past, even it was cruel to one's own identity? So to me, having a comment is a right of each individual country's statesman or so forth to say. It is their right. But when you have countries like China, which should be a warning to the world as a canary bird in a mine, Japan has a alliance also with China. Now, Japan has been willingly open up, not desperately needed to trade with China, but willingly wish to trade with China. Okay, they are willing to, but they are desperately need to trade with the United States of America. So to me, Japan's kind of their infrastructure, financial structure, economic structure is kind of tied down to the United States, being their so-called after Second World War. America is the victor. They have occupied Japan, and then Japan was given back as sovereign to fully govern as its own, but of course guarantee securities, guarantee on trade to get both countries are naturally in order. But of course, in recent past 20 or 10 years, I would say, Japan has tried to move away from the United States by trying to penetrate to trade with America's rivals, Russia, North Korea if it's trying to, but mainly China. China is one of those countries Japan wish to reconcile, to trade. But of course, sentiments of the past, propagandas, machines in China are still living in the Second World War, still living in the middle of the 20th century. So a little sight that the Prime Minister, the Iron Lady of Japan, spoken such a word, and if I would not be mistaken, before even she can make such a statement, such bold statement, if most of the patriotic Chinese citizens would say, they need to get consent from the United States to make such a statement. That is how I project. So to some degree, I do agree what Shinseito Party in Japan, one of the radical right-wing parties in Japan, which is currently rising, for Japan First policy, saying this is Japan under a colonial rule. Under the United States. In a certain degrees, no. In a certain degrees, yes. But the certain degree, yes, is that it's part of the agreement of a mutual kind of organic, logical treaty that requires both countries to function. As I said as early just now, trade is one factor, economic benefit, financial benefit, and military security benefits is naturally default in place between these two countries, between the United States and Japan. And of course, naturally, China would be the major rival, or it would eventually be, probably, I hope not, the enemies of the both of the coin sides. And the main theater, sadly, Taiwan will become the main theater on this campaign in the future. I hope this will not come in fruition during my time of my earthly time would see this and witness such a historical event. Restraint is really needed. For me, for China, as I would back to the original topic, just a small word, China has already reacted quite blatantly against Japan, banning seafood from Japan due to nuclear waste. Although scientifically has already proven there's no nuclear radiation materials that mutated the fish industries in the sea that is being fished at east coast of Sendai. And they had that last time, and then they lifted it, and then they conveniently put the ban again, just after when the Prime Minister made such a bold statement. So it's not really, to me, as officially they say, is the fish might have radiation. I think it's more political driven. It is blatantly over face value a very how should I say politically driven, and then telling its citizens to cancel the trips to China from China to Japan, the Chinese tourists. Well, it does have effect because Chinese citizens tendency would obey what the state government do, and it is part in wiring of their brains through propagandas when they were in schools. So I won't blame the citizens for that because they're kind of like the Manchurian candidate already. Naturally, the citizens are kind of brainwashed in a cultivating system. When the state government orders it, they oblige. 500,000 is a huge number, but thank God, I would say very lucky. Japan is now conditioning in a very worse situation. Having over tourism is one key aspect of the problem. Naturally, with this Chinese reducing, state government has asking the citizens to avoid going to Japan, reduces and ease the soft blow of the over tourism in Japan. Revenue, of course, will drop. If China is relying on tourism to make Japan suffer, I don't think it is even a slight dent to its overall economic power of Japan, especially in tourism industry. So no, Japan just need to not to worry, because due to a weak yen, there will be more tourists coming to Japan, specifically my country. A lot of citizens in Malaysia, because of ringgit is being strong against yen, and of course against all currency of the world, thanks to our Prime Minister currently serving with God's grace and God's will. We will see a lot more Southeast Asia countries replacing China as the tourists to Japan. I think it would not put a dent on it. But of course, China would try find other ways to damage Japan. They can't use military might because they will put China as the bad guy. So the only pressure they have trying to use, which evidently they have always been trying to use, is trade. Now, there was a previous country with a canary in the minefield that a lot of people neglected it and considered it as a fable tale. Australia. Now, I live in Australia for some many years actually, a almost 2/3 of a decade. I've been living in Australia myself, and knowing that their trade is heavily exported to China. It was a period where China was buying a lot of Australian goods, beef, especially the most important material that China is buying from Australia is the iron ore, which Australia has a lot of it, export to fuel China's industry. But being over leveraged to trade with China over United States, Britain, European countries, even in Africa and South America, which I believe Australia's weak point is they need to expand their trading partners not just in this major or traditional trade partners like in United Kingdom, Canada, United States, China. It's time for a sphere of influence of Australia going to South America, going to Africa country. Diversify your economic prospect is a safer mode against China or any major countries in the world. So that time Australia actually made a big mistake. They have oversold their products to China, and one thing led another again, similar like Japan. Australian government criticized China. They make more advanced security trade with America. Black and white in the treaty is to contain China's assertion of its military might across the Pacific Ocean, across the world. The objective of containing China. The AUKUS, if I'm not mistaken, is called AUKUS, AUKUS, if I'm not mistaken, is correctly, is to contain China from expanding its military might across the world. Now, doing that, I feel like China, like, hey, you shouldn't do that. All right, we're gonna ban trade on the iron ore. We're gonna ban trade on the beef, and the most highlighted moment that I've thought of is the ban on importing Australian wine. The moment that they actually stopped trading wine, China itself, or in China, they started producing their own grape wines. The vineyards were expanding in mainland China to replicate and to reduce reliance on wine industries importation from Australia. So if that is the case, most of the things will be unable to trade with China, and then eventually we get hooked too much with China. We are begging China to buy our Australian products. That is the canary that anyone in the world should be listening and seeing. But now we have another one, which is Japan, over leverage with China. So China is using it to counteract Japan's so-called offensive comments about Taiwan. So, in all, that's the worldview at the moment that a lot of people has been talking about, and I like to say that we see how it goes next year. Of course, I've been trying to in pre-planning for my next year's trip. I was planning to go a 2 weeks long trip. That was my plan to Japan with my friends, my close friends, hopefully, and probably a family trip that I was thinking about. So it should be more fun in next year to do, but of course bogged down to work, and we do not know what's going on in the future anyway. So okay, side note about that. Back to the banknote. Sorry about that. Okay, I have missed. As I just said in earlier in this video, I didn't have time to talk about my collections. About I've just bought. Let's put in a short clip. So on this 20-minute onward, we're gonna talk about banknotes that I've accumulated throughout these 2 weeks, and I'm gonna talk about them, what I bought and what I did. So here we go. What I bought today is I bought some notes that I find intriguing, rarely seen in the market unless I go eBay and so forth. Might get it, but this one I didn't get it from eBay. I got it from a local dealer who just recently got this note last week from someone, a prospect seller, to him. So being a good gesture, being a close person to the dealer actually gave the exclusive to allow me to have a look first in hand of the notes that he got. So there are 3 notes that I find I got it and actually reserved it last week, and I promised him today that I would tell him in goodwill reply whether I would buy it or not, or just let it go for other other buyers. Eventually, I considered it and I'm made my decision to buy it. So the first one I'd like to share is this one is actually Libya. This note, it was still right before the revolution happened in Libya, when Muammar Gaddafi was thrown ousted in power, and Libya is liberated, and Muammar Gaddafi was captured and was executed in plain sight. Now, this is a note actually first came out for the commemorative note for the African convention by all the African state members for a cooperation of the African country, which were held in Libya. And this note actually they continue the same thing print, but it's printed way long after this convention happened, but they maintain it. The only big difference is actually there's a hollow. If you can see, this hollow is kind of indicated what series they are. The other one will be actually at the bottom here is a hologram, but the top one here is a more newer one, which is a couple of years before the Muammar Gaddafi's government collapse. Libya was destroyed with so-called plunge into a new turmoil under the new revolution era. Now, a lot of people considering thinking, even I myself actually thinking that these are the advancement of the oil pipelines, where people think about Libya is oil export country. So I thought all of this were actually oil pipelines, trying to portray that they're wealth of prosperity, but actually it's not. It's actually canals built to connect from the ocean, probably desalination plant or whatever. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I do not know. But what I got information is all this map topography mentioned are dams and canals, restoring a desert North African land, arid land, into a more green industry, reintroducing agriculture in Libya. That's one of the things that they hope to have their country, to have farmland and so forth, and rather than relying purely on oil as their main economic prospect. So this is kind of very hopeful image of what they try to achieve or have in progress achieving it. So yeah, this is a very significant, to me it's very significant for Libyans. And of course the historical background, actually if you can see there's a supposed fluorescent glow, it's written here. The notes are quite similar to the commemorative banknote, is the color different and the hologram is shifted away from its position. So yeah, this note is a Libya's note, just a couple of years before the collapse of Muammar Gaddafi's government. So yeah, so this is a Libyan banknote. The other note that I've got, now this one I've actually got for about probably 75 ringgit. So pretty fair price, I would say. Next one is Portuguese Guinea in Africa. This note is under colony of the Portuguese. So this place is called Guinea. So basically, officially it is a colony for the Portuguese Guinea. Now, Guineas, there are plenty of words being used across in Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, this which is the current countries, Papua New Guinea. So Guinea has been quite used ultimately across the continent of colonial rule. So this Guinea is called Portuguese Guinea in Africa. Printed in Lisbon, governed directly by Lisbon. It's like a it's like a crown colony, I would say, governed directly in Portugal, in Lisbon. Banco Nacional Ultramarino is the bank that is printing this note. 100 escudos. 1 escudos is equivalent to 100 centavos. So yeah, this note, the condition was really surprisingly good. If you follow the catalog book, I would say this is around 320 to 330 ringgit. I've got this one for some, if I'm not mistaken, 75 ringgit. So the price was quite bang on, I would say. Oh, sorry, not 75, 110. I got this around 100 ringgit. So it was quite bang on for the buck. For its condition, I think is very good. I would say probably 64, I would say. No more than 64, I would say, the condition of this note. About uncirculated to uncirculated condition. Significantly, this note is printed in the 17th, and I will always say that printed and issued in the same way because there's a lack of information I could get. But the note is issued on the 17th of December 1971. And the portrait here is Nuno Tristão. I'm not too sure who was it. Whether this is a replacement, I don't know. Actually, I don't really have a collection of Portuguese banknote other than Macau, which even Macau I have very little, and most of the Macau notes I have is after handover to mainland China. So nothing is under colonial rule, which also Macau is a direct rule in Lisbon, and is printed under Banco Nacional Ultramarino. So yeah, all I could say is state that is printed governed by the Portuguese. Their print under Banco Nacional Ultramarino is the kind of the direct control in Portugal, Lisbon. At the back, you can see different ships, different galley, some ships, and the modern ships. You got a kind of the ships that is the galley ships that looks like a Viking ships, galley ships that upgraded in time, and then a bunch of destroyer. I would say at that time I believe this is a destroyer ship. But anyway, it shows progress of the age time pass of the ships being used, and of course being a port before going to forward and beyond to Asia or so forth. Portuguese Guinea is kind of treated as a trading post, and yet as also a place where ships can resupply, especially the Portuguese ships. But eventually, this area has became granted independence, and when they granted independence, everything has changed, and the current country's name is actually Bissau Guinea. In Africa continent. So check that out, and you to know the history. Banknotes do tell a lot of histories if you do find and do research about it, knowing why this banknote exists, because banknote do tell history of what is the establishment at that time of the situation. Why they're ruled by colonies, why are they not the Portuguese, are they governed directly by the Portuguese, and so forth. So yeah, these are the things that might be considered in their uh, of the fun part on looking into the history. So this is 100 escudos, Banco Nacional Ultramarino, Portuguese Guinea. Yeah, got this for about 110 ringgit. The X is something much unique, I would say. This is Angola under the Portuguese administration period. So the banknote is printed, governed under the administration of the Portuguese. It was part of a colonial rule, but at that time they were at the process of having a self-governing place, Angola. That's why they call it the Bank of Angola or Banco de Angola. Rather than, as you see, the Banco Nacional Ultramarino, this one is printed specifically and governed administratively under Angola. But of course, during this period, and this period is 1970, they are under Portuguese administration, and the country was in progress getting independence, which we see today, Angola. So this type of banknotes are much more limited and much more difficult to find. Value wise, I don't think it is very expensive. I think it's just at the ballpark. But it is in sense where my dealers where they can get this note easily in my country here in Malaysia, it's virtually quite difficult. So knowing that the seller that actually sold this to him, I have very interested to collect this note in my collection. I don't have a note from Angola. This would be my very first note that I collected from Angola. I have many other modern African countries banknote, but nothing under colonial rule. Not even South Africa before apartheid, before South Africa became a union. They were more as a dominion rule. I don't have those. So African continent, my collection mostly are the current state of the current government, not during the colonial or imperial time. So this is one of my very first. Other than this one, and Angola is my very first European colonial rule banknote, and it's one of the hard. If this condition were like this, uncirculated, yes, it worth a lot of money based on the catalog book, around 230 to 240 US dollars. Now this one, my condition, I would say probably a 45 US dollar, and I got it for 75 ringgit, which actually kind of worth the back to get in this condition. But anyway, whether it's rare condition or good condition, to have a first banknote in my collection to have from a colonial era African continent is a prize. For me, it's a very special moment. So this is actually my prize collection for this week for Africa continent. 1,000 note is, of course, as I said, Bank the Angola, printed in 10th of June 1970. The governor's and vice governor's signature, 1,000. If I'm not mistaken, this is 1,000 escudos or mil escudos, Banco de Angola. The printer name is written here, and guess what? Who it is? What do we know? Thomas de la Rouche and Coy Limited, Laundries can't read that one. What's the word? What's that? Uh, Inolatera. This is right. But the most important printer is here, Thomas de la Rue. This is more important. They are the one who designed the plate and the security of the notes. So this is a note that I would appreciate to have. 1,000 escudos, Banco de Angola. Now, at that time already, this note looks fantastically old, but yet the images are very fantastically modern. The front page is talk about showing the picture of a dam, a reservoir collecting water. So this is a very modern thing, and the back shows the wilderness. If I'm not mistaken, this is kind of the African gazelles. One of those breeds. I do not know the official name. I'll just call them gazelles. The landscape of the plains of Africa. Security wise is quite simple. Design wise is quite simple. The back, but it is for Africa to me is really beautiful. Significantly tells a story of Africa. But the front, let's talk about its nations, developments. I think that is quite significant. Security ages here, watermark here. Now this one I don't know what it is. I'm not too sure what it is here written or something. But I'm pretty sure it is written probably the denomination. I'm not too sure. But yeah. Country that, and the portrait person is called Americo Thomas. And this dam is Baragam des Mabubas. Baragam das Mabubas. That's what they call it. But yeah, the front is very beautiful for a colony under Portuguese administration in Africa, Angola. So it's quite beautiful. The other really rare notes that I see that I'm fascinated is Congo, Belgium Congo. That is really beautiful, especially although it's very provocative, a very sensitive portrait was used on the banknote. It was shown in the back. A preacher under the tree preaching gospel to the native African in Belgium Congo. That image was really, if you are using it today, it's really offensive. White man's educating, demanding them to submit to Christianity, and so forth. That image kind of very provocative, but understand it was produced, it was used and made during the Belgium ruling in Congo. So that note actually is done really beautifully. Actually, the design is almost similar like this, but much more complexities in its design. Really great emotive design that I wanted to have that in my collection. Yes, I've seen it physically, the note before, but the price was outrageously expensive, and I don't think it's worth it for its condition. Knowing it's rare by its own in coming to Malaysia, probably in Congo, it might be cheaper, where is the source is there of the banknote is being used and for distributed and used in that region, so probably it's much more cheaper. So yeah, that's one of those beautiful colonial African notes that I wish I have in my collection. And yeah, so this note, 1,000 escudos, Banco de Angola, under the Portuguese administration, printed in 10th of June, or issued 10th of June, 1970. So that is all for today's collection that I bought today. And this one was, on the other hand, last week's purchase. Of course, I still continue to collect Japanese, even I just got back from Japan. There are things that I've learned, there are things that I have investigated what are the collection further on in variations. And now most of these notes I already got them. I already got this, but I didn't have these variation. That's why you see multiple notes here that are looks the same. Now if you look at my short reel, if you notice, I've been having a description that the two last number or the two last prefix here, okay, are actually indication where the printer is, the company's name and its factory where it was manufactured. So let's take it for example, like for the 1 yen here. The example is the first prefix normally you will see is 1. All of them, this kind of type of series, you always see 1 in the front. Okay, the first serial number, the first prefix block number is actually indicating who is the authorization of approving for the print. The 1 actually stated is Bank of Japan. So it's governed under Bank of Japan to print this note and under them to issue the note. The other one, which is really rare, I have not seen it physically, but I've seen it in an image, in a photo, is a 2. Now 2 is somewhat rare to see because that one is not under Bank of Japan. It is under the government of Japan. 2 is administered, approved for print, approved to distribute under the government of Japan. So you have 2 serial number at the front, which is 1 or 2. And then the back 2 last number, it indicates, let's say for this one is 12. It indicates a location, the name of the company that is printing and its location where it was printed. That is how you find this type of note. That is how you indicate. In between, like for this one, 1051 is actually not serial number. Oh no, it's the block number. When they print this note, you will find this type of numbers multiple prints. If you have a stack that's just freshly print and 100 piece, one bundle, you will find all of them will be the same code number like this. It is not a serial number. It is not a serial number. It is block number. First prefix front indicates who's the administration authorization to issue the quantity and the numbers of distribution and print. The 2 last one is the indicates what company is being print this note and where the location of their printing. So how do I know the location and the type of bank? Again, you go back to the Japanese catalog book. Yes, I got the information from here and I try to translate it using the AI technology blah 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 to kind of translate it because I use Google Translate because I don't read goddamn Japanese language. So yeah, I'm pretty stuck in that, but yeah. So this is the page where it tells you how to indicate. So these are the notes here. These are the company names right here. These are all the company names. Now I can't recall which is which already. I have a short-term memory, but this is something Nippon Dai Nippon Den something. I'm not sure already. This column here indicates where it was printed. I know this one is Osaka. This is printed in Osaka. And then the other printers that I know, I think is this one, OG. OG is printing here. And other kanjis that I don't know how to read, so I can't explain. But this column, the second column on the left, indicates the factory's location. This is the company's name. So company names might have numerous factory location, and these are the numbers indicating which are they, what are they, which location, which indicates where's the location and the company name. So for example, like this one, let's just say the 1 yen, which is parked under the column here. This is the 1 yen. This one, second series 1 yen. So I have the 22. This is 12. So you go 12, it means the first one here under this print and this company. So it's indicated right here. And the cost is 150 yen value. Condition of this banknote for this number, only recognize it if it's uncirculated. This is written here. This value is written in yen. For its condition is uncirculated. So if you notice this, most of my collection here, they are way below the price of the book. So if you are way below the price of, most of it are quite common. But because of his variations, I'm attempting to find them all as part of my journey in completing my collection. So this is one of the areas that I'm probably unlocking as part of my task in finding these notes. So I already tried that last week, and this is the things that I got. So the first one is printed 12, so it's on 12 here. Then you have the 10 cent and the 10 yen. Now under the 10 yen I had, if you notice this one, block number 1, which is issued authorization by Bank of Japan, and then the 2 last number is 26. So if you see here is Hato 10 cent, sorry, you can see that it's on the column, the last column, which is called Hato 10 cents. See number 26 would be here. So it will be under this Tokyo. This is under Tokyo Security Printing. Tokyo Security Printing. If I'm not mistaken, this is 26. But you know, you read my short clip, I actually written that translated. Right now, I can't remember it is. So under here, 26. There's few denomination print under this age. Is one of the most rarest factories ever to print, because if you notice, there's one is under 50 cent. This word means extremely rare. Exists, but extremely rare. Hard to find and hard to define this price. Probably more than 5,000, 6,000 if you can find the uncirculated condition, or maybe 10,000 yen. Who knows? Because this is the very, very, very rare position. The other one is expensive. It's like the 5 yen one is 1,000, which I have, but is in bad condition, so I probably would just say 300 yen. And the 100 yen 4th series or Shotoku 4th series is 7,500 yen. It's one of the most expensive notes in this column for any of the factory. Is the 26. Shocking, isn't it? So this, my discovery is actually this notes. There are plenty. I've seen local dealers selling this colonial Japanese notes are plenty. Most of it in a very bad state condition. For me at this moment of time, it's not the condition. Due to the big variation and time constraint for me, I would firstly buy for the sake of getting one in my collection first, and then slowly upgrade those notes at due time. So I have 3 of them. So I'll just explain. This one is actually printed in block number 26 location. The first block is 1, which is governed under Bank of Japan, and this note is printed under block number 3, one of the early print blocks numbers. The other one I've got is, as you can see, the numbers got bigger. First number is administered by Bank of Japan. 2 last number is 16. So you can find in the book here 10 Hato 10 cent. Under 16, which is here under Tokyo security printing. So it's in here 16, so it's around 300 if unsecured. This condition is not so. See, sorry there, I dropped it. So this one is not in an unsecured condition. It's much cheaper. I got this one for about 8 ringgit. So wouldn't argue the price there. The other one here I've got is block number 12. So block number 12 is in the book, is one of the first one at the top, roughly around 200 yen. First block number 1, and then 92 is print of this note. Block number 1 indicates is governed under Bank of Japan jurisdiction. 12 is location of its bank. The printer at the location where it's printed. 10 yen, same thing as all the notes, same thing. You have to look through the fun part. Yep, number 1 is the front, which is governed under the jurisdiction of the Bank of Japan, and the 2 last number is 12, which is the same thing as I say here. 10 yen, 800 yen for unsecured condition. Well, look at the condition here, really quite bad. So wouldn't say this would be 800 yen worth. It probably worth about 200-300 yen. But because of the novelty of the 12, well, we'll just keep it like that. This one is first block number is 1, and the 2 last number is 22. So you find the 22, same thing. Here we go, 22. Voila. It's about 800 yen too. So one of the cheap ones. And lastly, what I've got last week is this one is 10 yen. Front number is 1, Bank of Japan, and the 2 last number is 16. So in the book, 16 is here. At the Tokyo security printing, 16 at OG were 2,000 for uncirculated. But look at the condition. It's worn, really worn banknote. So yeah, whether it is valued accordingly, is it valuable? No, they're pretty much very common. But is it worth the collection? Yes, great fun and adventure. So this will be kind of my journey at this moment in time, looking for Japanese banknotes. They are cheap, but there are a lot of noodling to find all those variation in their numbers and codes and so forth. If I could get a unsecured condition, even better. So I hope at that period, this time, that I could get these notes in a better condition. So yeah, so that's well, come to the end. This is where I say thank you very much. This is all I got for today. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. If you do have any questions and so forth, drop me in the comments. And if you want to correct what I just said is a mistake or what, or error, do let me know, because I wish to learn from you if you have. And of course, if you wish to see my future videos and my short clips, do give me a like, subscribe, and and click on the notification if you wish to. Again, my disclaimer, I don't do this for video sake. I do this for fun. I use YouTube's space storage as a place where I archive my collection, what I've bought currently, so that I can remember what I've bought and when I bought, based on the YouTube's video inputs I have. I use it as a storage for my own personal diary on my collection. And of course, in the other side of the coin is to share with the world that collecting banknote is something to inspire younger or new numismatic collectors to collect banknotes. We do not know, as the world moving into digital currency, we do not know whether paper money will still exist. But as I said last night, probably in 100 years, banknotes or currency in paper form would still continue to use, so long there are a lot of poverty countries still exist, like Africa, South America, Middle East. But probably like China, Japan, United States, or even Canada, most of the European countries might move in toward digital currencies. So paper will become virtually lesser and lesser in its physical form. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you guys again next time, probably in Christmas week. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon. Good day.